Hey, it's Lauren. Thank you so much for listening to the Afterlight. Enjoy the episode. This episode has been brought to you by the Raw Spirit Team. Building a business can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. We teach small and medium-sized businesses strategies for building a profitable, successful, stress-free business and life. Because guess what? You are more than your business. Through one-on-one training, online courses, and monthly guest experts, the Spirit Team is built on the principle of building each other up in business and in spirit. Try it for 14 days for free. Just head to rawconsulting.com and check out the Raw Spirit Team. Welcome to the Afterlight. My guest today is Bianca Mayers. As a psychic medium and sound healing energy therapist, Bianca's sole purpose is to help you reconnect with past loved ones, to heal and to help you realize your unlimited potential. Creator of Sonar Sound Healing Energy Therapy, Bianca is joining me today to talk about all things spiritual, but we'll be focusing primarily on the power of sound to heal. Now, Bianca has offered to do a guided meditation.
What I like to recommend is that you find somewhere comfy to sit or lie down, and it's most beneficial if you can listen to this through headphones. So now that you've found a nice comfy place to sit or lie down, I just want you to take this moment to close your eyes and connect in. Focus in on your breath as you breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Allowing any thoughts, any feelings to leave your body with each exhalation, allowing yourself to become more and more relaxed. Bringing your awareness to your heart space. Becoming aware of any thoughts, any feelings, any aches or pains that arise in this area. Imagining a beautiful emerald green light emerging in front of your heart space. Feeling this beautiful green light merge into your body. Feeling its warmth and loving energy surround you. From your head to your toes. Feeling that beautiful emerald green light surrounding you. Feeling the love, the peace, and the warmth that comes with it. us back to your body, back to this room, back to this space and time, connecting in with your breath as you gently breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Feeling completely at peace and relaxed. Gently wiggling your fingers and your toes. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. Namaste.
Thank you, Bianca. That was beautiful.
You're so welcome.
I really needed that because I had a really big coffee before we talked and I felt really not
Buzzed.
centered.
Yeah.
I was like, blah. Now I just feel like cool.
It's good because the way sound healing works is it turns off the sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight response. So it brings the body back into balance and turns on the parasympathetic nervous system, which allows you to relax.
Well, I definitely feel that. Out of curiosity, I couldn't tell whether or not it was Zoom or you. Did you make some of it quieter, and were you changing the sound, like the level of the sound, as much as you were changing, where you were hitting and all that? Can you tell me a bit about?
I changed how hard I was hitting certain instruments.
Okay.
And I used a lot of different instruments which have different qualities to the sound. So some will be deeper, some will be higher. And depending on how hard you hit them is the level of how intense the sound will be. Yeah.
So what were you using? And then we'll get into a bit about what sound healing is and how you first discovered it and all that stuff. But just for our listener at home who went through that experience as well,
Yep.
What were you using there?
Well, first of all, I'd like to ask you, where did you feel that predominantly? That the sound?
Oh.
Is there a certain place in the body that you felt it?
I was really trying to calm down my solar plexus, honestly, because I think when I drink a lot of coffee as well, I sometimes get anxiety. So I was sort of focused there. Yeah, I guess probably primarily that area for me. But then at a certain point, I also noticed that it sort of got me out of my head and allowed me to just center. You know how sometimes when you meditate, you can almost look behind your eyes?
Yeah.
So it kind of brought me into that as well. So I'm not sure whether or not that meant it was connecting more with my third eye area or whether or not I just was able to take my attention into what I wanted to do, I suppose. Yeah.
So that's the beautiful thing with sound. I find that whenever I perform a sound healing or a sound meditation, I always tune in and ask that I play the sounds needed by whoever's listening to bring about healing and relaxation to that person or those persons who are listening in. So I find that the sounds take on their own sounds with the intention behind them. So that's why I always like to ask people where they felt it, because predominantly the instruments I played are tuned in to F, the musical note F,
Okay.
which is the musical note associated with the heart chakra. But having said that, I do have a couple of other instruments that aren't tuned into that. So it's interesting that you're probably picking up on the other instruments where you needed them most. Okay. So I have 3 different Tibetan bowls that I was working with. The predominant one I played with is tuned into the musical note of F for the heart. I also used a chakra chime, which is the really high-pitched, this one, which is tuned into the frequency of the heart. I also used a clear quartz crystal singing bowl, which is this one, which is tuned into also F for the heart. And then another beautiful instrument I was playing is it's handmade, and I believe I'm one of the only people in Australia to have one, and it's called a bajin, and it comes all the way from Israel, and it's, I don't know, it's
Wow.
it's a whole heap of tubes that are tuned into different frequencies, and they produce the most beautiful sound. And the base of it is handmade with bamboo, and it's a very long process in order to get this made. I think I waited, I don't know, like 8 months to receive it, because it takes so long to make by hand. But the sound that it makes is... And each of the tubes that are on this instrument are keyed into different musical notes. Like this one is F for the heart, but as it vibrates next to the other tubes, it will pick up other sounds. So you're hearing more than one note and tone.
Wow, beautiful. It kind of reminded me almost of a xylophone when I didn't know what I was listening out for. And for our listener at home, it's kind of like a circular, it's quite big. It's like a circular kind of bowl shape. And then, like Bianca said, there are threads or cords kind of going across it. And then the tubes are sort of placed within that. And then it's got that kind of, but the tubes are round. I guess they're tubes. Tubes are round.
Yeah, they're sort of like wind chimes.
Yeah, wind chimes. That's right. Yeah, that's really cool. And actually, when I was doing my meditation, one of the words that came to me was forgiveness. So that would have been a heart thing. So
exactly.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Perfect.
You just made me recall that after you said that, and I thought, okay, maybe I should be out with it and tell you I heard that. So thank you for sharing that. That's so wonderful. Where did your foray into sound healing start? Like, how did you first hear about it?
Well,
no pun intended, Bianca.
I'm a big lover of puns, so I might throw in a few myself. But
love it.
I've always been connected to music. So I was brought up in a household where music was always played, and my mother always sung to me. So from a very early age, I've been connected to sound and to song, and I would always sing through my emotions. So if I was happy, I would sing. If I was sad, I would sing, especially as a teenager, when you've been broken hearted by your boyfriend and you really got to get it out, you put on the saddest song that you can possibly find. Or at one stage for me, it was Alanis Morissette and that song You Ought to Know to get the rage out.
That was one of my go-to albums. We might be the same age. But...
yeah. letting that slip. But so I also learned lots of instruments. So at school I learned the saxophone, the flute, the bass clarinet and the trumpet. So I have always been that way inclined, and I've always liked the way that it made me feel when I played the instrument, because when you're playing, it's not just feeling it on the outside and hearing it, it's the feeling it internally that really I felt connected to. And it wasn't until sometime later, I've always worked with healing, so that my mother raised me to always try and heal myself first, and she paid for me to do Reiki when I was a teenager, and It sort of started from there. So I've been on this journey for most of my life, discovering new ways and new old ways, I should say. I'm more drawn to the old ways of how it used to be before other things got involved, and getting back to basics and not having to use lots of things to be able to heal us, because we are ultimately our most powerful healer, which we forget because we get so used to having to go to other people to facilitate healing, like doctors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So through this journey of healing, I started watching a series called The Pyramid Code. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's all about the pyramids and the healing power of pyramids. And I have to say my background is as a psychic as well, and I don't want to sound too airy-fairy, but sometimes when I watch things, I feel it triggers memories of past lives or different information that I'm aware of on a spiritual level, not necessarily a conscious level. Right. And I was watching this Pyramid Code episode, and it was specifically about inside this one pyramid where they had this slab in the middle, and they explained how it was a healing chamber. And people would lie on this slab, and the healer would go in and would make sounds that would project off different points inside the pyramid that would perfectly hit certain parts of the body depending upon what sound they produced. And so it was used as a healing chamber to facilitate healing in specific places throughout the body. And as I was watching this, all of a sudden I was taken back in time to what I believe personally was a past life where I was doing this.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the end. With my focus of what my future would be.
So did it come naturally to you then? Did you have,
yes,
when you played, I mean, obviously you get the musical background, but if you're also maybe tapping into, a life before, you would think that might have been running through your veins.
Well, that's the interesting part, is that I started my sound healing journey on my own, doing what I intuitively felt was right for the person. So using my background with healing, I would then tune in and use the instruments that I had bought that I felt connected to use on certain clients. And it's funny because we get so caught up, and I mean, I understandably so, but we get so caught up on, do you have a degree for that, or do you have training for that? So I thought, I better go and train with who I can to get that certificate behind my name. And it was really interesting because I trained with one of the largest sound healing schools in the world. And it was really weird because as I was watching it, I realized this is what I had been intuitively doing.
Right.
With the instruments that I'd been playing was exactly what they were teaching me. And this is when the realization came to me that really everything we learn from someone else, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's a degree in science or a degree in medicine, it is all started, every course that has ever been written, every amount of knowledge has come through as an intuitive thought to the person who wrote it.
Yes.
So all that knowledge exists in a certain space, which we just tap into it at different times.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. I don't know if you read Sylvia Browne's The Other Side. Have you read that book? Yeah, okay.
I've read most of Sylvia's books, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, for our listener at home, if they don't know, she sort of talks about, the other side, and then there's like areas where there are people who are experts in certain areas, and they kind of essentially try to help people on this earth plane by imparting ideas or guidance into them. So that, just when you said that, it kind of made me think of that.
Exactly. And, that's been my guide ever since, was when I had that realization, because I have a lot of academics around me who have devoted their lives to study. And I have to say, I didn't finish high school. I left in year 11 because I had, and this is another part of my journey too, I had personal trauma at a young age that manifested as physical illness, which made me unable to do certain things. So that stopped me from finishing high school. So I always felt like I hadn't quite completed everything, or I don't know, I lacked knowledge in some way. I then went on to do some university study, but when I had this realization that all knowledge comes from one place and everyone can tap into it, it made me feel really differently about or you have to have this degree, or you've got to have that degree to be able to be complete or to be acknowledged as knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so important because, especially people who are listening to this show, chances are they're really interested in the subject, or or have already been on their journey. So it probably, a lot of the things that you are saying really rings true. And, for me, I guess it's kind of like you were talking about. Sometimes I just know stuff, even if I don't have a certificate to prove it. And one of the things that you made me think of is, it's that self-reliance. It's that understanding that you have everything you need. And, sometimes when you meet somebody, or you read a book, or you watch a movie or a TV show, like you kind of talked about, that seed almost grows a little bit more. And then, while you give light to it and you cultivate that, it blooms. And, I guess that sometimes I'm getting total goosebumps here, but I guess a lot of that is also when you're in a state of flowing.
Exactly.
Mm.
It's interesting how when you are in that state of flow, that people and opportunities will just come into your path to ignite and grow what that path you are already on. And I've really used that as the driver in my life to take me where I need to go.
Yeah. And speaking of that, you had an interesting observation when I reached out to see if you wanted to be on my podcast. Speaking of that, what happened? What happened, Bianca? What are you talking about?
So it was because I very often get messages come through, and I'm currently in Melbourne, which is in lockdown. So we are unable to leave our home or further than 5 kilometres from where we live at this present time. So I'm very much homebound at the moment. So I'm very lucky that I live right near the beach, which is in walking distance. And I also have a beautiful garden. And on the morning before you contacted me, I had just walked out into my garden and looked up in the sky and taken in a deep breath. And I just got this feeling, oh, you're going to be on a podcast soon. And then I went, oh, that's strange. What, do I have to contact someone? Or and then your message appeared, and I'm like, no, that's it. I'm in flow.
That's so funny. And what's funny is that day I was looking at spiritual groups on Facebook I had never seen before. So I actually joined a group that I hadn't even been in before. And then that's when I saw you. So it's just funny. It's funny how things just flow. I think that when you listen to yourself and your own journey, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying before, where, we innately have everything that we need. We just need to learn to quiet the outside, to listen to ourselves. And that's one of the big parts and benefits of meditation. And, the kind of gift that you gave us at the very beginning of the episode is taking that time to really be here in the moment and listen to, what do I need, right?
That's exactly it. And that's what we too often disconnect from in this life, because we're so driven by deadlines and timelines and the clock, and we don't have time to listen. Yeah. So I think, and that's the important thing about this time, is as frustrating as it can be for people, especially people in where I am, and having our lives thrown into disarray and not being able to do all those things. In a way, it's a really liberating time, because we have the freedom to be able to connect in and to listen.
Yeah. Well, and some people would be avoiding that at all costs.
Yes.
So that would be challenging. But
yes.
Yeah. So let's go back a little bit when you were talking about, one of my favorite subjects, Alanis Morissette. And we won't go into that, except to say that Jagged Little Pill is probably one of the best albums of all time, if you grew up in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you made me think about is you were mentioning that when you're happy, you sing, and when you're sad, you're sing, or you did do that. And I think that sometimes the power of music is forgotten until you listen to a song and you're kind of reminded of that. One of the things that I always like to remind people to do is, if they're feeling down, to put on a song that's going to make you feel better. Often we want to wallow in that feeling and indulge in that. And, if that's your truth, then that's okay. but the power of music, it just, like kind of what you're saying, it gets inside you and it almost heals you inside. So I don't know whether that's vibration or, whether it's just your intention to listen to music that's going to up level you. Because some people, they feel really good by listening to really crazy, like loud screaming metal music. And they might feel, really just like awesome after that, which is fine. But other people might listen to that and feel the opposite. So, does music kind of connect to different people, the different types of music? And then do you take that into account with the kind of healing that you do? Or is the sound healing that you're doing really accessible to all types?
The sound healing I do, really, it's for everyone. I can honestly say I haven't had one person who went, you know what, that's not my thing. Because I think using so many different instruments, everyone can find a sound that they prefer.
Right.
But having said that, there are certain sounds that will be jarring on people. And as you said, like I have a cousin who's in a screamo band.
Yeah.
And it's so ironic because what he sings, that's an unusual word for that, but what he screams about is about love and light.
Right.
And I find it really ironic that you hear this rah, rah, rah. But it's all about being peaceful and connected and love and light. And so it's interesting because, well, look, with what I have learnt, we have to be mindful of what we listen to, because there are certain frequencies that will affect us over time. But I think when you're in a certain state or mood, it's your intention of what that feeling is going to be when you listen to that music that it has an effect. But where I've moved to is I'm very affected now by certain music, especially words and music. I think that's one of the most powerful things too, because words have such power behind them.
Yeah.
That when we're listening to them, it's almost we're creating a mantra with these words.
Yeah.
So that's why I say just be mindful. You might be listening to a song that makes you feel really good, but when you listen to those words, when you really think about it, how do those words make you feel if you take them out of the context with that sound, those instruments, or that synthesizer behind them?
Yeah, it's true. And you made me think of is sometimes I've listened to, not often, but Louise Hay's affirmations, right? And it's just, her YouTubes and she's doing her affirmations. But I never really thought about it. Lyrics actually work the same way.
Exactly.
I never really thought about it before like that. Thank you for that.
That's okay. And
yeah.
And it's interesting because I still, even though I said knowledge comes from intuition and it's all from one place, I still like to learn. And I've worked a lot with instruments, and I started intuitively working a lot more with my voice. But we connect sound healing mainly to instruments and certain type of instruments. Sorry, here we go, I'm talking, and you'll see where energy moves as you talk about certain things, and mine's coming up to my throat right now, so just excuse me for a moment. Thank you. So I have found a teacher who specialises in the voice for sound healing, and if you listen to him, his name is Wayne Perry, he will tell you the only instrument to use to heal is the human voice, because it is tuned in to the precise frequencies needed to heal each individual. So I use a lot of my voice with my healing. I use certain instruments at certain times with sound baths. I use mainly instruments because people are more accustomed to that than just listening to a voice making certain sounds. But I weave that in to healings. But it is quite amazing how healing the voice is and how powerful words are.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm reading a book right now called Instant Rapport. And it's about, basically it's talking about how some people are auditory, like more likely to be auditory, some people visual, and then other people kinesthetic. And it was saying that, people auditory people very often there's certain sounds or frequencies that really like get to them, and they actually sometimes can't even concentrate when they're talking. Have you ever run into the experience of talking or listening to a podcast where you just cannot stand the person's
Absolutely.
voice?
And especially because I think because I can feel the intent behind what they're saying too. So very often they will say things, but if you listen to the way they're saying it, you can actually feel it too. You can feel the intention that is behind what is being said. And I'll very often listen to things and go, you know what, that person's not genuine.
That makes a lot of sense to me now that you say it like that. Because I have some podcasts I listen to. I will not mention them right now, but the people's voice aren't my preferred voice. They're in fact mostly people I probably normally would not listen to, but the content is so good. And like you said, the feeling, and I guess the integrity behind that, the intention is clear that it's enough for me to enjoy it, in fact. Whereas other people I've listened to, and I can listen to somebody for 30 seconds and unsubscribe entirely just based on that one experience.
Because our voice, we can't hide our essence with our voice. Our voice is our inner essence that we share. It's our visual energy, I would like to say. Because we can see each other through our voices. If we have our eyes closed, if we take away the visual, we can feel what the person's like through their voice. We create an image of what someone is like through their voice. Like when in the old days when we used to be on the phone and weren't able to converse like we are now with modern technology, you would picture someone through their voice.
Yeah, it's true. And I do watch The Voice as well. And I do see on the blind auditions what sometimes
Exactly. So, and that's our true
It's always
essence.
good to throw pop culture into spirituality conversations, don't you think?
I love the trashiest of the trash. I can watch Housewives.
Okay. Well, I don't go that deep, but
with me, because of the way I operate, I'm like always in spirit mode. Well, I like to say spirit mode, so I'm always, operating in a different realm, shall we say. So I really need some grounding sometimes. And sometimes I know people go, oh, the energy of those shows. I'm like, you know what? I switch off. That's my switch off mechanism. Yeah. As bad as it is, that's my personal switch off mechanism, because I don't think.
There's no judgment at all. You just do. I think comes down to just you listening to what you need for you. Like, it's never about, doing something because everyone else is doing it. It's about going, I need this, like I do intermittent fasting. Well, I didn't today. I felt like I needed to eat, so I ate, right? That's such a stupid example, but at the same time, I'm listening to what I need, not what you think I need, right? And I think that's where often people can get stuck or caught up, is when they have ignored their inside, messages for so long. Bianca, I need to ask you a difficult question I just thought of. What about people who are hearing impaired or that are maybe unable to speak or mute potentially? Do you think that there's something to be said in the healing power of vibration?
Absolutely.
Because you can still feel it tapping
and because our skin's our largest organ, and that's where the sound goes in through, is through our skin, so our bodies will react to that. So absolutely. And I have seen different documentaries where sound has been used even on deaf children, and just seeing the response on them, like bringing a smile when certain sounds are played. So even though they can't hear with their outer ear, they're hearing it with their inner being, I think is the best way to describe it.
One of the stories that came to mind is I remember seeing, I think I probably saw this on Facebook or something, but I think it was a young woman took her dad, who was hearing impaired, to, I think it was a Coldplay concert. And they were, oh my God, actually makes me want to, it makes me emotional in thinking about it. But she was signing all the lyrics to him while they were at the concert. And you could just see him looking at her intently and reading what everything was about. And just how beautiful that was. It just reminded me of that story. I'm sure if people Google it at home, they'll be able to find that. So you talked a little bit about frequencies before. Can you explain what hertz are? Is that the same thing as frequencies? Because I have downloaded some hertz recordings because my
Yeah.
friend told me sometimes it helps with stuff. And accidentally, you know, when you're into the car and Siri's DJing for you, and all of a sudden the hertz audio came
Start
on, and I
coming
went,
in.
"Oh, I really can't listen to this right now."
Yeah. So
Yeah, just what are your
the
thoughts on that, and what can people use it for?
so hertz. I have to say I'm a frequency junkie, I would like to say. So if I need to shift anything, I'll listen to specific hertz or a specific frequency. So frequency, hertz is the measurement of the frequency. Okay, so for an example,
Okay.
5 to 8 hertz is meant to be the frequency of creation, the frequency of love. It's the miracle hertz, the miracle frequency.
What?
So that's
Okay.
5 to 8. And I have specific.
I'm writing that down.
So if you look, I'll give a reference to a YouTube channel that I am the biggest fan of. They're called Meditative Mind. And they have a channel on YouTube that is all frequency based meditation music. So when I have clients that come and see me, if they've got a certain blockage that they need extra help with, I will suggest that they listen to different tracks from Meditative Mind. Like even if I have a client who comes for a psychic reading and I know that they have certain issues that they haven't seen before from a healing perspective, I will still prescribe them. And it's amazing the changes that it facilitates in the body. So everything from clearing negative energy in a space to releasing grief. What else is there? There's ones for anxiety, there's ones for stress, there's ones for colds, there's ones for everything you can possibly think of. There is certain frequencies that have been put together to help heal and shift whatever's you're needing shifting.
All right. Well, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. And I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I mean, there's a thing about, you know, when I look at you, I can see that you walk your talk because you're so light. You have this beautiful energy and joyfulness to the way that you are. So it's clear that, you know, the work that you're doing and the time that you're taking to tune in, there we go again, to the sounds that you need, it clearly is working for you in your life as well.
I use it. I have certain practices that I do mandatory. And when I say mandatory, I do forget sometimes. But I start my day every day with a shower. And all my learnings, I've been taught that water is such a powerful magnifier of intention and of sound. And we are physically, what is it, some ridiculous percentage, 80 or 70 something percent of our bodies are water. So we react well to water. So I look at being in a shower is a superconductor for my body. So I make a certain pattern of sounds every morning. I set my intention for what these sounds do. Because I'm working, healing people, and also bringing messages through, my intention every day is to be grounded, but to be connected to source or spirit or God or creator energy, whatever you want to call that. So I use sounds to link myself in and connect myself in to the earth and to spirit. But so I'm grounded and connected at the same time. And I've worked with a lot of psychics and healers who don't connect in before reading. They work through their guides or they work through whoever their spirit helpers are. And very often those people it's very hard to have a normal conversation with because they're too up in the clouds, or they get physically affected by people's energies because they're not connecting in. with intention.
Like there's a reason why we're on
Exactly.
Earth.
We have to be grounded, or else there's some people, I just honestly, you talk to them and it's like you're speaking a different language because they're so off in the clouds that they just can't. They're too up with spirit that they're not connected to this earthly plane. So it's so important that for me, that I have to do that connection every day, because that way I'm not affected by other people's energies. And because I work with so many different people's energies, but also that I'm connected to spirit. So I hear everything I need to hear, but in a grounded way.
Yeah, I like that, because, you know, even though there might be a desire, especially reading a book like The Other Side, we talked about, to, you know, maybe be elsewhere than here, we are here for a reason, or we wouldn't be, right?
Exactly.
So it's about making sure that you are putting, you know, all your efforts into being here, but also being there. It's like connected to Mother Earth, and then connected to the Creator. Can we talk a bit about chakras? Do chakras have anything to do with sound healing?
Absolutely. And that's the basis of, I have to say, my healing modality that I've created called Sonar Healing, which I am teaching my first lot of practitioners in March next year. It's all based on the chakra system. So there are certain sounds that we make that will help shift and clear blocked energy in the chakra systems. And as for those who know about the chakras, they are connected to different organs, to different emotions, to different ailments. And when the energy is blocked in those, that's when it manifests more in the body. So using sounds to release and heal is the most powerful way to clear and heal your chakras. So if you like, I can give you an example of the sound for the heart chakra.
Sure.
So it's really interesting. So the sound for the heart chakra, if you work with, there's different, so there's two different schools of thought. There is the Bija mantra, or the seed sounds, which come from Sanskrit, and they are like Vam, Lam, and these are related to the chakras. But then there is the vowel sounds. So I'm more drawn to the vowel sounds, probably because that's my ethnicity is more drawn to this.
Yep.
And it seems more instinctual, because what's the sound that you think of when you see a newborn baby? Exactly. So the sound of the heart is ah.
Oh.
And it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Because even when something makes sense, you go,
exactly.
Ah.
So it's connecting with the heart chakra.
Right.
So when I do healing with someone who has blocked emotions, or is sitting with grief or sadness, I will work with them on clearing the heart chakra using my voice, or hopefully their voice as well, by using the certain sounds that will release certain things in the chakras. We also will go deeper and make other sounds as well, but to start with, this is a really good way. So if you like, I'll give you a quick demonstration, and you should be able to feel it in your heart chakra as I'm doing it.
Okay.
So just close your eyes for a moment. So if you're sitting with grief or any sort of emotion or feeling that is affecting the heart chakra, or even if you have health issues that are concerned with the heart, making that sound is really powerful with help healing that part of you.
You know what you made me think of? Thank you for that.
That's okay.
You know what you made me think of is I did a meditation a while ago on Hay House Meditations, put a link in the show notes, and it was Wayne Dyer, and he was doing one where he was doing that kind of chanting, or whatever. And I remember I first started listening to it and I went, nope. And I changed it right away and I did not do that. And then another day I went back and I tried it again because no one was home. And I thought, I don't know, I guess I was feeling adventurous that morning or something. And I started doing that. And I think initially my own voice scared me because it was such not a beautiful sound. It wasn't like I was singing something to appease myself or sing to a song that I love or whatever. It felt like a more of an animal type kind of sound initially. And
yeah, absolutely. And it's the energy of it. And sometimes it will take, like it took me a very long time to be able to produce a sound like I just made. I mean, there was some cracking, so obviously I have some shifting still to do in my heart chakra at the moment. But I had said to me as a child, you sound like you're singing through your nose. So I got really hung up on, I sound like I'm singing through my nose. So I would start holding myself back from singing. So I would never fully allow myself to go after a certain age.
Right.
And when I started connecting in with sound, I would go and do these toning circles. And at first I was like pretending to make sound because I was scared to allow, what if I make the wrong sound? What if it doesn't sound like that? So
yes.
we disconnect from our inner sound. So where you're saying that sound, it's obviously, it becomes primal, and when we first connect into it, because it's carrying so much weight behind it. And that's where it can be that real, and some people will go like this sort of constricting sound because they're trying to move the energy up that's blocked, and they might have a blockage in their throat chakra. So the sounds won't be the same as they come up. Or it might be something they're holding into, and it's that deep voice that's coming up.
Right. And then as they learn to sort of release judgment and just be safe to let that sound out, I guess the sound would change over time. It's interesting how you observed in your own self there that you felt that maybe you had a blockage to work through. So you kind of make me feel that, this is something so I can't just do it once.
No, this is a daily, well, when you can, this is the practice. And it's so powerful. And I really, as you said, I really walk my talk. And I have an 8-year-old daughter. And from the moment that she could connect in with hurting herself, because as a toddler, she would hurt herself. And, as a toddler, as soon as they, do something, it's, they start crying straight away. So I wanted to, and this goes back, I'm going off track, but I read a study that if you can disassociate from pain with your thought as it happens, you won't feel it as badly, or you won't, say if you burnt yourself and you don't go straight into the, oh my goodness, that hurts. If you can somehow disconnect the thought in your head with a feeling, it won't be as bad. So I thought, well, I'm going to try this on my daughter as she grows up and see how this works. So whenever she would hurt herself, I would touch wherever it is that was hurting, and I would make a sound. And I would say, what sound do you need to make? And instinctively as a young kid, she would go, ah. So we would go, ah. And instead of her going into that mode of, ah, she would go into,
right.
Doesn't hurt mode.
Right.
And now
yeah.
she's an 8-year-old. Whenever she hurts herself, she will touch wherever it is she's hurt herself, and she'll make a noise. She'll make a sound.
Interesting.
And it's been her biggest healer. She's learned how to heal herself with this. So, whereas other kids, I know, parents think they've hurt themselves so bad they go to the hospital and stuff like this because the pain sets in and they attach that thought to the and can't disconnect from it.
Yeah, which is a whole other conversation with identifying with thought and all these which we do not have time for today.
Exactly. But yeah, so
but I love talking about that.
But you can do that. You can use that in anything with yourself. So if I have a sore throat, I will connect in and I'll ask my body, okay, what sound do I need to make to shift that?
Wow. I never really thought about doing that. So I know now if I ever have that, I'll think about that, because when you talk about shifting that, it's almost like you're saying, okay, there's an energy that's blocked or stored in here and we need to get it out. And the easiest way to get it out is through our mouth,
exactly.
Through sound, where we just almost a deep breath out in a way.
But so, as I said, some people are just not comfortable with using their own voices.
Yeah.
So that's why with the healing modality, the sonar that I've created, it's using my voice until the client's comfortable with using their own voice, because if you put that intention and certain sounds out, you can help facilitate the start in the healing process in the client.
Yeah, well, I could feel that in me when you were doing that. You didn't feel separate from me.
Well, what I visualize is that I'm connecting in through you, and I'm tuning into that part of your body that I'm working on to shift what needs to shift.
Right, because that's why people have coaches and healers and people that assist them, because sometimes they don't want to, or they're not ready, or they don't know how to do the work themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. We're just at our hour. I know it went by super fast. The meditation went by super fast and everything else. Thank you so much for all your wisdom and your gifts as well today with sharing your own sound and your story. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to bring up? Because I know we didn't really get into, some of the results that you've seen in your clients or in yourself or through the power of sound. Is there anything you wanted to bring up? Is there anything you feel guided to kind of add?
I have seen so many powerful changes take place in people's lives from sound. I would say, look, the most important thing is allow yourself the time and space to connect in with your own voice. I find it especially powerful for people who suffer from anxiety, which is such, and depression is such a big thing in our society at this point of time, that I really call to all of you all people who do suffer from those things to really get connected in with their body, because also I find a lot of medication that people tend to be put on for those disconnect us from our body more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Numbing.
So I ask you to get back in touch with your body by connecting into your own voice, or by listening to frequencies that are specifically put out there to help with those issues.
Mm-hmm. And Meditative Mind, like Bianca said, is a great resource for that. And then, of course, you do work over Zoom as well, I would imagine.
I do, especially at this point of time. So I do one-on-one healings through Zoom. I also do Saturday nights on my Facebook page. I do live sound healing meditation and activations. And it's been wonderful doing those, because I connect into people all around the world. And just this morning I got a message through from someone in Germany who had has listened to most of my sound healings that I've done live. And it's interesting the journey that she's gone on with the changes of herself, having listened to them, and the shifts that have taken place from it. It's quite powerful, and I love hearing those stories, because it makes me realize how important this work is. Well, not realize, but it validates this work.
Yeah. But it made me kind of think about it because, like I was telling you before I hit record, that, I've always been a singer. I've always sung and written music. And the last few years, I just haven't, because I just haven't felt like I needed to get that out in that way. And I think it's something that I really miss. And I realize now that, if I can release stuff from inside through sound and music, that it's almost a missed opportunity if I'm not taking it.
Absolutely. And it's funny because a lot of people that I work with, I say, what have you stopped doing that you love doing when they're in a rut? Very often when we get into that
Yeah.
rut, or we get into what I call the well, when we're depressed or we're feeling down, we disconnect from all those things that we love doing, which is what brings up our vibration. And very often song or listening to music or moving to music is two of the biggest things we stop doing when we start feeling down, but it should be the opposite. So I say to the people I work with, make a playlist of songs that make you feel good, that have positive words in them, or that it's uplifting for you to start listening to every day, and see the change that makes. And within a week, if you start listening to songs that are uplifting and are of a high vibration every day for a week, your mood will start shifting.
Yeah. And one thing I will add to that as well is that when you set yourself up on that feeling good, all of a sudden you're aligned with all these other things that feel good too. You meet people you never would have met. You have opportunities that are presented to you that you never would have seen before. And it's all because you've set an intention to kind of thrive on a certain level, I guess. I'm trying to not use the vibration word and all that kind of stuff, but
and that's exactly it. And that's what I say. If the universe is guiding us, or source or creator energy, if we're denying ourselves, why is the creator or the universe going to send us stuff when we're not open and ready for it? So when we start doing things that are good for us, that's when the opportunities open up, because the universe looks on us and goes, you know what? You're awake and you're doing stuff to make you feel good. I'm going to give you more stuff to make you feel good and bring you into alignment of where you're meant to be.
Yes. And then when you get that stuff, all you need to do is go, thank you, thank you, thank you, more, please.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I will put a link to your Facebook page and all your contact information as well in the show notes for our listeners at home to check you out and connect with you. And thank you so much, Bianca, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lauren. And as I say, blessings to you, and be connected with your voice. It is your most powerful healer.
Thanks so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave us a review where you listen to your podcast and share it with your friends. Thank you. New episodes every Thursday.